Hi, I'm Evan Danis. Welcome to the second video in our Smarter by the Shift series, where we're talking about intelligent systems in the warehouse. Joining me again is our senior software engineer, Ben Smeeland, and we're going to talk a little more deeply about intelligent systems in the warehouse. So explain to people again, just to refresh everyone's memory a bit, what we mean when we talk about intelligent systems in the warehouse sense.
Intelligent systems is a pretty broad topic. People think generative AI when you really think intelligence, but there's a lot of lower level things like smart algorithms, good data processing and such. And there's a spectrum through there that we utilize a whole bunch of components of.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about what makes these systems intelligent and these solutions, maybe specifically when we're talking about travel, pathing, picking, slotting, things like that. Very specific to the warehouse.
We start off with giving it good information. We use virtual twin warehouse mapping to give it location information that is as accurate to the real world as possible. And by using that, we can get good proximity of distance for groupings, for pathing, and such as that. Adding in extra constraints such as one-ways, don't turn around, sort of rules help fine-tune the algorithm to know what the customer wants, needs for safety concerns, etc.
Okay. Tell me a little bit how that works, maybe in the sense of batching, for instance.
Sure. Knowing on a map, you can see two locations close together, not necessarily on the same rack, but adjacent, across from one another, right across an aisle, versus, oh, it's down two, and just that little bit of distance can make all the difference between a good batch and a not so good batch.
Okay. One of the big things we talk about is with these intelligent systems is the idea of real-time visibility and real-time action that can be taken. Tell me a little bit about how some of these systems work in that regard.
We optimize our systems to run as fast as possible so that we can run them the moment a picker asks for work. By doing that, we look at the current lay of the land, prioritization, what needs to go out, as well as that map information to not only get a good batch, but what batch is necessary to go next. Top priorities, focus on those, and good batches in association with them.
Okay, so talk about a story maybe with a customer about how it all works together, like how that dynamic work optimization, for instance, has worked for a customer or can work for a customer.
Sure. Going through the whole process, an order comes in, nice big order. The first thing we do is do some cartonization, fill the boxes to maximum capacity, breaking that order into a number of boxes. As we do that, we're keeping in mind that distance, that proximity, to fill the boxes not only to capacity, but to keep them in close proximity for that picking to be done together. Then when pickers go out and they're, filling a cart with a number of boxes, we're grabbing boxes from multiple orders that are all in close proximity to put that together. Finally, we're giving a path for all the individual picks for that equipment to shorten that distance and get things through as fast as possible. And we've seen results anywhere from 5 to almost 30% in some cases.
Wow, that's fantastic. So that sounds like a smart system, and we talk a lot about AI, agentic AI, but there are some drawbacks to that sort of thing. So tell me a little bit about what may be a problem with some of these AI-based solutions.
AI requires training, just like a new employee, so to speak. So if we would create an agentic AI and throw it into a warehouse initially, you're going to have to train it like a new employee. And you're not going to put a new employee in charge of the entire shift and managing everything unless you've trained them thoroughly, you've given them the oversight and all that. And most of the times when we're putting a system in, what we're trying to do is eliminate that training time. So what we don't want to have is an agentic AI learn off bad data or go off poor assumptions and run that warehouse into a direction it doesn't want, especially during like a peak season like the holidays. So what we need to do is keep everything on tight rails, use smart algorithms primarily to perhaps train an agentic AI where we can eventually feel good that it's doing good work.
Right. So at this point, you still need that human interaction or that human oversight to really make sure things are working well.
Yeah, and the human involvement with it needs to be unobtrusive.
Okay. Yeah, and that's great. I think, you hear a lot about the agentic piece of it, like we said, but there's also like I don't think people talk a lot about what some of the drawbacks or what some of the things you really need to look out for are. So I think that's important to get into the conversation for us to talk about. So thanks, Ben, for taking us down that path a little more deeply when it comes to intelligent systems in the warehouse. And look for more videos in our Smarter by the Shift series very soon. Thanks.